Hey everyone, this is Norbert, and today I wanted to bring you a deck profile for Elfnote branded. This is the most popular version in the TCG right now, and as of today we have this version in Master Duel as well, because we now have the Fawn of the White Dragon and Fawn of the Virtuous, Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon, and the Dragon that Devours the Dogma. Now, I'm going to go through this deck list, at least the important things, and I'm going to tell you where the synergy is. Then I'm going to show you a standard combo and then some gameplay that I've recorded with this deck. So, for the Elfnote stuff, it is all pretty standard. We have the 2 Elfnote Power Patron, we have 2 Meteors, 2 Ethereal Eyes, we have triple Tinia, triple Lucina, we have triple Regina, and then 1 of Fortuna, Welcome Home, and Rhapsody of Madness. And for the branded stuff, we have 2 Fawn of the White Dragon. This is the new card that we've gotten. This it's always treated as Fawn of Albas, and you can send 1 monster that mentions Fawn of Albas from exile to derive it as cost to special it. And if you special it like this, you cannot summon from the exile deck except level 8 Fusion or Synchros. And then on summon, you can special an Ecclesia monster from hand, deck, or graveyard. So this sends your Albion or Dogma or Sprint, and then gets you the Ecclesia, and then you can synchro summon into Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon, which during the main phase can banish and summon 1 Fawn of Albas or 1 level 4 or lower that mentions it from your deck or graveyard, and then your graveyard you can shuffle it and a level 8 fusion monster from your grave of banishment and target 1 card on the field and shuffle all of them into the deck. So this is a generic level 8, so you can go into this with your Elfnote engine, be it with Meteors plus Elfnote Power Patron and Elfnote Power Patron level modulation, or just with the standard Strelitzia, revive the Elfnote Power Patron and then just go straight into it from there. So you can bridge from Elfnote into Albas. You can't bridge the other way around, but Albas is just here for better push. We also have the Magnamut, because Magnamut in the end phase can add you the Albas, which is neat. And then we have 2 Fawn of the Virtues. This is a non-legend piece, but I decided to play 2 because you are not a branded deck. So if you have the Fawn of the White Dragon, and basically what it does with the sending from the extra deck is it sends Albion or Dogma, and that will get you a Fawn of the Virtuous. So if you already have the Fawn of the Virtuous, there is diminishing returns. Of course, you can just use it immediately as a reborn, but still, I like having 2. And another big thing this deck list does well is it can play Super Poly very well, because Albas can fuse with almost everything, especially now that we have the Dragon that Devours the Dogma. This uses Albas plus a Light or Dark and 1 effect monster. So your opponent has like 2 monsters on the field, one of them is Light or Dark, the other one can be anything, and you just fuse it and your Albas away. And then this on summon shuffles 2 cards from any graveyard or banishment to the deck, non-targeting. And while Ecclesia is on the field or at either graveyard, it is plus 500 and unaffected by other cards' effects. So very hard to out, and when it comes down, especially with the Super Poly, it clears the board, and it also gets some resources, either take away resources from the opponent or it shuffles back yours. We play the OG Albas because otherwise the branded engine does not do enough. So if you bridge into the Ecclesia with the Elfnote engine, you don't get the send off of the Fallen because it just comes from your deck. But you want to do anything with your Ecclesia, so in your opponent's turn you can just tribute this Ecclesia or banish this Ecclesia to summon Albas, and that is another disruption, either into a Dogma or into a Mirage or into a Sprint. So we play this over Titanic Cloud because this can use any effect monster special summon this turn. So if your opponent, for example, special summons a Rico and Kewl Tune, then you can just use that. You don't have to wait for an extra deck monster to make Mirage. You can just use this, and then in the end phase it can also, just like Titanic Cloud, summon an Albas. So there's no difference there. So yeah, that is it for the deck profile. The rest is pretty standard. Noteworthy that we have an extra Chaos Angel here because it's easy to make on this list, and also noteworthy, I have Super Poly, but I don't have Theseus because I have Garura and Mud Dragon, and I think Dogma checks a lot of Kewl Tune already. But let's show you a simple combo. So here we are in solo mode, and that should already tell you a lot. This is just a normal combo uninterrupted. You will get interrupted when you play on ladder. So I did some games and I didn't like really get a replay where I just showed off a simple one card combo. It's always like pushing through hand traps or playing a grind game or anything. But I think it's still important to know the interactions here. So let's get started. So we just take the one card Lucina combo here. So let's ignore this Regina here. You can use the Lucina here, and you can either grab the Regina if you want to play around Droll, or you can play the Elfin Paw Patron if you want to play around Fuva better. So let's take the Elfin Paw Patron here, and then we can normal summon it and use the effect to level modulate the Lucina, and that'll make it level 9. So now you can go into the Baron de Fleur, which will protect you from further interruption here. And that triggers your Elfin Paw Patron. So Elfin Paw Patron can then grab your Tinia, and you can summon that Tinia, use the effect to get Elfnote home, and then you send the Tinia, special a Regina. Regina can then summon from the deck a Fortuna, and then you can use the Fortuna to set up your trap, which then sends the Fortuna to make a Paw Patron back. Then you can go into your Strelitzia. And that'll trigger your Regina to come back to hand. And then your Strelitzia can summon back your Elfnote Paw Patron. And here we have a level 7 and a level 1, so we can make an 8, being the Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. And that can then banish itself to bring out Fallen of the White, which then summons from the deck Ecclesia. And then can make another level 8. So here I play the Axel Synchro Stardust. But of course you can also play the Omega instead and just strip a card from your opponent's hand. That's up to you. I prefer the flexibility of Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon. And then we can play the Elfnote Paw Patron here or here, depending on when you want. If you want to make a 12, you put it here, but you can just put it here. And that's your board. So let's just set this imperm and we go to end phase, where we will get back our Ecclesia. So this is unassuming, but we have our Baron de Fleur, we have an Axel Synchro Stardust, 2 Synchro, we have the Rhapsodia, and we have the Ecclesia to tag out at any point in the main phase. So our opponent is just going to activate a card, and you can actually go ahead and use Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon as early as you can to get it out. Summon back the Fallen of the White Dragon, and that Fallen of the White Dragon can then summon your Ecclesia. And now you have the Ecclesia loaded at any point to make to get the Albas out of the deck to fuse with your opponent. Here, what's important is once you use the Rhapsody of Madness, which is pretty cool, you can just let's send a Regina from our hand. You can opt to at any point get your Regina Fortuna, negate. And like, if you get Fortuna, you have options, but like any level 6 will do here, because you can use the Axel Synchro Stardust to quick synchro on your opponent's turn, and you have a lot of options here. So let's get the Stardust Dragon out, and the Stardust Dragon is going to be unaffected, and now we can do a Dawn Dragster with a level 6 and the Elfin Paw Patron, which will trigger the Elfin Paw Patron to search for you. You can make the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon using the Stardust and the Ecclesia, or you can make a Chaos Angel Light and Dark using the Fortuna and the Fallen of the White Dragon. Now, while you keep the Elfin Paw Patron on the board, you cannot fusion summon with the Albas. So keep that in mind if you plan for an Albas play to actually synchro this off or send it away with the Rhapsody of Madness. So let's just go into a Dawn Dexter here, which is the normal play, and this will get you a follow-up. So you can grab a Lucina here. And now you have an unaffected Dragster, and you still have the Ecclesia, you still have the Regina in hand, you have the Baron, you have the Stardust Dragon, and you have the Regina, and in the end phase, your Ecclesia comes back. So a lot of things you can do here, and very flexible into hand traps. If you want more combos with this deck, I have a video for the TCG. I'm going to link it. But let's hop into some real games now. So first replay is probably also my first game of the season with this deck. And we're going second, of course. If you follow this channel for a bit, we always kind of go second. It's against Branded. Our hand is double Fuva, Magnamut, 1 starter, 1 brick. They go Alubar, grab hand High Spirits, which is what they're doing now. They show me an Ecclesia, and that shows me that they don't have any battle targets, so there's no Fuva here, there's no dragon here to send. This is the best thing they can do. They send the Grangunol, and they're going to add the new Fallen of the White Dragon. They're going to use the effect, send from the deck a Titanic Lad, and then use the effect to special from deck. Here is where I drop a Fuva. Of course, it summons from deck, but I don't see a delay, so I'm dropping the second one. Reason being, I sometimes, if I have 2 Fuvas, like to keep one for my turn, but I have a Magnamut in hand. Magnamut is really good against Branded, because it cuts them off of anything they have in the grave for end phase effects. So what I want to do is, I want to end phase Magnamut, and then I have a body on the field, and I can't Fuva on my turn, right? So I want to just get my value from the Fuvas here, drop the second one, and that's going to put them in a very weird spot. So they already have activated this effect, so they will give me my 2 draws back. And what's important here is they have sent the Titanic Lad already. This in the end phase will summon or add a Dogmatica or an Albas. And with Fuva it's awkward, because if they summon a Quem, which they likely want to do, then I will get to draw 2 cards. They don't want that. So instead, what they probably will do is just end phase add a card, so I'm just, by dropping the Fuvas, I also take away that interaction from them. Plus, also very important, they have sent a Grangunol. Grangunol triggers when I summon a monster through a monster effect, which is exactly what Magnamut does. But if I end phase Magnamut here, they could trigger the Grangunol, but that gives me 2 more draws. That's not worth it. That's the same thing as summoning Quem from Titanic Lad. They don't want to do that. So I'm putting them in a very weird spot by dropping the Fuvalos here. And I can just comfortably end phase Magnamut. Or so I thought, because I draw my 2 cards and there's a third Fuvalos. So here I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep the Fuvalos, the third one, for my turn, and I'm gonna keep the Bistel Magnamut for my turn. Also, to cut off their follow-up in the end phase, because Branded has a lot of follow-up and it's not that easy to OTK. So I'm just gonna chill here. They're gonna summon a Cartesia that they had in hand, and they go end phase, and then they trigger the Titanic Lad, and they add follow-up, just as I thought they would, because they don't want to summon you. So they have a set card, which can be probably Fallen the Virtuous, could also be a Droplet, could also be a Super Poly, that's the more likely ones, and then the one-off would be like Retribution. And then on the board they have the Ecclesia, which plays into Fuva, they have the Cartesia, plays into Fuva, and they have these 2 bodies which don't do anything, plus a card that I don't know. And the Grangunol in the grave, which also plays into Fuva. So I'm not going to Magnamut here. I'm going to draw my card, and it is a Lucina, very good draw. Drop the Fuva here in draw phase, because once I enter the main phase, the Cartesia can chain to my Fuva, the Ecclesia can chain to my Fuva. Now, this doesn't make sense because they want to summon Albas, but it's mostly about the Cartesia here. I don't want them to get a Grangunol off before I get my draw of a Fuva, so I just do it in draw phase here. So they're on the Fuva again, and I'm going to start here with the Lucina and use the effect to add. I would add a Regina here, because that's just better going second. And they're gonna reveal the set card was a Droplet. So the Droplet, they sent their Aluba, they don't need it. And they are gonna negate my Lucina. Nothing I can do here. But what I can do instead is Theorealize, send Medius for cost, and then use the effect to summon. They're gonna chain Cartesia here, because they have an Albas on the field, right? So they can do some Albas shenanigans. I'm trying to be careful to not play into Dragon that Devours the Dogma, because even though they would give me 2 draws of the Albas, taking away 2 bodies from me is very painful for me. So I'm going to let them fuse. I get a draw of that. It's Albion. So I'm going to draw my Droll. That doesn't do anything, so I'm just going to shuffle it back. And I'm going to summon Medius the Pure, which I'm going to use. And then they're going to chain the Albion. And they're also going to chain the Grangunol. So a lot of effects here. They're going to summon a Querdes. because their plan is to just survive here. I draw an Elfnote Power Patron. That's whatever. It would have been my secondary draw of Lucina, so it's fine to draw. I don't have my normal summon use that. Even if they go Dogma, take these two, I have Magnamut plus Elfnote Power Patron, which can synchro, so that's not a bad draw. They're going to fuse from the grave to make Mirror Jade, and that is going to draw me my second Elfnote Power Patron, which means my Meteors cannot resolve, because I don't have any Elfnote Power Patrons in my deck left. So I have to rethink my plan. They have a Mirror Jade as interaction. They have the Queritus to set my attack to 0, which I have to be careful about, so I'm not going to summon too many monsters before having a negate or having dealt with the Queritus. And they have the Ecclesia still to go into a Dogma. So here, I'm gonna try to bait interaction of them by using Theorealize, targeting Lucina, and making it a Light Fiend. Now this does two things. First, they're afraid of Fiendsmith, but second, they also, I'm also threatening a Chaos Angel, which I actually do play in this deck, I think. Or it wasn't in this deck list as I recorded this, I put it in the game after. Either way, this would have been a Chaos Angel. But your opponent doesn't know what's in the extra deck anyway. So you're just threatening something here, and that is enough to get the Ecclesia out. So I'm gonna draw Tinia, that's good, another starter. The Albas use their other Albas, and they go Dogma Dragon, which gives me another draw. That one is now gonna shuffle back some of their resources, Titanic Lad and Albas, because as you can see just now, they're going to use the Mirror Jade to send the Titanic Lad again because they want to get their Albas back later. So they're going to go use the effect as I imperm. My field is empty, so I can imperm the Mirror Jade. That takes that interaction off the board, and then I only have to worry about the Queritus and the follow. So they're going to try to banish the Dragon that devours the Dogma. It is of course unaffected, so that won't do anything. They just wanted to cast in the grave. And now the Mirror Jade interaction is gone. Next, I'm going to summon Tinia and go Welcome Home. Normal summon Elfnote Power Patron, target the Tinia, because I have some things to worry about, and that is the Queritus, which I now have a negate for, but they also have an Aluba in the grave, so once I out one of these fusion, Aluba comes back, negates something in my field. I don't want that. And they have the unaffected Dragon that devours the Dogma that I have to out. I have an out for that, you'll see in a second, but first of all, I just wanted to protect myself, and that is going to be the Baron de Fleur. Elfnote Power Patron is going to trigger, grabs me Regina, and now I'm going to use the Welcome Home to send the Elfnote Power Patron, summon my Fortuna, which sets up the trap, and then I can send the Fortuna for Regina, get some bodies on board. Just another Tinia, it's fine. I just need something to send off of Rhapsody of Madness, bring back the Elfnote Power Patron, and that was the last opportunity to use the Queritus to set my attack to 0, because now on the summon of the Power Patron with the Rhapsodia, I can negate the Queritus on the field. So now they realize too late that they can't do it anymore. Now, interaction is gone off the board, I can try to out the Dogma Dragon, and for that I'm going to Strelitzia, grab back my Regina, and then use the Strelitzia to summon back the Elfnote Power Patron, and then go into an 8, and that is the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This, if it attacks level 5 or higher monster, it just gains the attack of that monster, so I can just run into the Dragon that devours the Dogma and deal 3000 damage. Next I'm going to use Fallen of the White Dragon, because I'm done Synchro Summoning, so this would lock me into level 8s, but I'm done with all of that. So summon the Ecclesia, then I go Magnamut, get rid of the Aluba, which would have been a nuisance, and then use the Magnamut for the end phase effect. Next I'm going to go Baron de Fleur, pop the Mirror Jade, and Mirror Jade tries to nuke. I'm going to negate that, because I have a negate for the Queritus grave effect. I have a negate for the Mirror Jade. So I can just use the Crystal Wing on that, and then for the Queritus I can use the Baron. So that is gone. And then I'm just going to go to battle phase, attack the Dogma Dragon. That is popped. I'm going to attack the Queritus. And they actually didn't have an Albas in the deck, so I don't even have to waste my negate on this. I can crash my Magnamut here, and then I can attack. And I'm not sure if I used my Regina effect. I did use my Regina effect in hand. So I can't lethal here, but I still have a negate for their follow-up, and I get a card from the Magnamut. So as I crash into this, they just concede the game. Next replay is me actually going first for once. This is the only going first replay you'll see. I just wanted to play through a bit of interaction here. So we're gonna start with the Lucina. Note that if you have a hand like this, where you have the Fallen and Lucina, you want to do your Elfnote stuff first, because Albas will lock you. So Lucina grabs the Elfin Power Patron here. I wanted to play around Fuva here. So I'm just gonna grab the Elfin Power Patron here. Because Albas is very good into Droll, so if I get Drolled, I'm fine. I can just make Crystal Wing, do Albas stuff, and I'm very, very good here. But Fuva is very hard on both of Regina and Fallen, so I just wanted to hedge my bets a bit. So I'm gonna normal summon the Power Patron, and here I'm gonna target the Lucina, and I'm just gonna go into around the floor. So now I have a negate on board. The Power Patron grabs the Tinia, special summon that, and try to do the other end. They go Izuna here, and now here I think I kind of don't want to use my Baron on something like an Izuna, but they will just go Nash Knight and eat my Baron, and then they'll also have the Lupus in the grave for next turn. So it doesn't matter if I negate the Nash Knight or if I negate the Izuna here. So I'm just gonna say let them summon the Izuna. They're gonna try to use the effect, and that I'm gonna negate that one. Get rid of the Izuna. And basically I was like, okay, if they have more hand traps, I cannot negate anymore, but I still have my Fallen of the White Dragon as an insurance, right? Because the Elfnote plan here would also make a Crystal Wing. So I'm going to use the Welcome Home to go into Regina. Regina summons Tinia. Tinia gets us the Trap. Trap gets us the Tuner. And this is basically the combo I showed you earlier, but we already have the Fallen of the White Dragon in hand, so we don't have to go into an Ecclesia here. We can just go into a Crystal Wing. So now we go Fallen, send Albion, special Ecclesia, go into Synchro Ecclesia, and we just use the Synchro Ecclesia just to get another body back. Why not? Set a card, Albion sets us Fallen of the Virtuous, and that is our board. We also get the Ecclesia back as a discard for either the Rhapsodia or for a Fallen of Albas that comes from the deck. Here in the standby phase, because we used the Baron already, we're just going to tag her out into a Tinia. And now once we get a monster in the middle, we can hand trip. So let's see what they do. They go Raisin, and they activate the effect on summon, which I think is a mistake here, because I can just negate it, they can't chain the pop. I guess they don't have a chance. If they go for the pop effect, then they also get negated here. So I'm just gonna go negate that effect. They don't have a Borgar in the hand to tag out, so it's just gonna get removed, and that is that. Now they go Jokul. Jokul summon Izuna, and I'm gonna go Ecclesia because this Jokul is a tasty dark monster. So I'm just gonna summon my Albas here. Jokul, Izuna, use Izuna effect, I don't care. Chain Albas. I haven't used the Grave effect in this turn yet, so if they send a Lupus, I don't really mind. And here's the Dragon Deck Devours the Dogma. I put it in the middle zone, which is a mistake, because this is unaffected, so I cannot switch with Tinia. They just sent a Noroi, because it doesn't matter what they send. If they send a Lupus, I can just shuffle it back with the Dragon Deck Devours the Dogma. So, new chain, I'm going to do that. I'm going to use the Tinia, although that doesn't work. So, this does nothing. And then Dragon shuffles back the Jokul. Just because I was thinking they haven't used the Jokul effect on the field, so if they have a Lantern, they could revive the Jokul, Jokul grab another body, and so on and so forth. And I don't want that, so I'm just going to shuffle it back. If they want a Lantern back like a Noroi, I don't care. And then I'm just going to shuffle back my Albion, because it's a resource. So then I just go end phase, I get my Ecclesia back, and here I'm just going to turn everything into attack. No need to do any plays, and just go ahead and attack for game. So for third game, we are going second, and our hand is Ash Blossom, Fallen as our non-engine, and we have 3 names. We're up against Sky Striker, so they're gonna go Ray into 0, and this means that probably they don't have like a lot of gas in hand, because they're just trying to get the engage as fast as they can. So here I'm just gonna go Ash Blossom the 0. It's worth noting that depending on what your hand is, you can keep the Ash Blossom for your turn to Ash the 0 if you think you can deal with the back row well enough. With my particular hand, I'm not as comfortable dealing into a full Strike Striker board, so I figured I'm just going to try to keep them off the engage and let it be that. So, negating the 0 here, and it turned out that they don't have anything else. They set 2 and they pass. So, my turn. I know that there is no real good targets for Fawn the Virtuous here, so I'm just gonna try to force the 0, force out the non-target pop, because that is very annoying for me. Top deck the draw, which I don't really care about. Like, if I get stopped and maybe I get a draw, maybe that's good enough, but here I'm just gonna go Fawn the Virtuous. And I was deciding for a sec whether I want the Dogma Dragon or Sprint, but Dogma Dragon doesn't do anything here because they won't end on, like, I can't use the second Fawn the Virtuous if I get it, and the Sprint also won't do as much because I kind of want to clear the bodies on the board. So I just figured I'm going to send the Albion to get another Fawn the Virtuous set for a grind game. So, deactivate 0, of course, tag out into Ray and Rose, decide not to pop, which tells me they probably either don't have a Sky Striker spell like a Widow Anchor here, or they have a way to send this Rose like a Droplet, right? Because otherwise you would pop the Rose so that you can at any point activate Infect, chaining 1 Ray, chaining 2 Ray, chaining 3 Widow Anchor, because you no longer have a monster on the main monster. Here, I have a Regina to dodge a potential Widow Anchor, so that's nice, but I know that there's no Widow Anchor coming right now. I'm going to summon the Lucina first, because I already have 3 monsters. I don't really need this Lucina, so I'm just going to try to see what they're doing here. They're going to send the Droplet, activate the Droplet, send the Rose, and that is going to negate the Lucina. So next, I have another decision to make. I either activate, I can't chain the Regina, of course, because they sent a monster, but I could use the Regina, send the Lucina, special summon it, and then special from deck, try to combo that way. But that, if I do it that way, and they chain a Widow Anchor on the Regina, I would have to tribute summon my Regina for a Tinia, and then I don't get the Regina back. So I'd rather go tribute summon Tinia over the Lucina first and force out the Widow Anchor that way. So that's what I'm gonna do. Tinia, they go activate Ray, special summon Amatsu, and on the Tinia effect, they're gonna go Widow Anchor. Now, since they didn't use the Amatsu effect on Tinia, I can actually go and try to dodge the Tinia with the Regina. They're gonna chain Maxi, which of course you go second into Maxi, just how it is. And I'm gonna summon the Regina here. They draw a card. Widow Anchor doesn't do anything. I get my Welcome Home, use the Regina effect. That's gonna be met with the Amatsu, so Regina's effect now is going to be changed to destroy Link, which triggers the Ray, but Ray already used its effect. So here I have a Welcome Home, a Droll, and a Regina. I could just attack and hope that the Droll gets me there against their hand, which wasn't a starter before, but I figured I'm just gonna, it's Sky Striker, they will probably be on a lot of breakers, so I'm just gonna say I'm trying to go for game here. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then that's it. I rather take my chances of them drawing anything to stop me while they have a Ray on the board, as opposed to having no real game plan here and just a draw. So, gonna send the draw away. Welcome home. They draw a card. Have one Power Patron. Synchro. Before they get any other draw, I want to get a mirror. So now I have a negate if they happen to draw in. I'm gonna leave the Ray on the board until I'm done comboing, just in case they have anything that requires them to not have a monster on the board. So, I'm gonna grab the Fortuna, get the Regina back. Fortuna set the trap. Trap sends Regina from my hand into an Power Patron, and Synchro Summon here into Strelitzia, which, worth noting, has 3000 attack while it's in the middle zone, as you can see here. And this is 3000, 3000, and anything Strelitzia brings back sadly has to be in the main phase, so we don't play around Nib that way. But we bring back Lucina, it's just 2000 plus, and then we can go Baron, target Ray, pop it, and then just have a clear path to game, and my opponent realizes that. For our last replay of the day, we are once again going second, and of course we have to play against Kewl Tune. Now, once again, we are blessed with Fuvalos, but the rest of the hand doesn't look that hot. We have a Fawn of Albas, which is not that great, Ecclesia, which is fine, going second, but not if you have the Albas already in hand, and we have a Meteos, which is a normal summon starter. They start with Rotary Reveal Rico, and before they can normal summon anything, I'm going to chain Fuva, in case they have Kewl Tune Synchro, because once they land a body on the board, they can just Synchro summon without giving me a draw. By using the Kewl Tune Synchro in response to my Fuvalos. Against Kewl Tune though, I do like the game plan of using one Fuva on my turn and one on their turn, because once they see a Fuva, they're just going to summon once anyway, so you rather keep the second Fuva for your turn so that once they start playing on your turn, you get more resources to break the board. So, gonna drop the Fuva here. And no Ash, no Called By, no Crossout, we'd love to see that. And then there's a normal summon of the Rico, which is going to grab them the Eclipse. So they are preparing to play on my turn. They haven't seen my hand yet, of course, so they're going to do a Trackmaker. I'm getting my one draw, and then they're going to search their two spells. So they're going to look at my hand, and they grab Kewl Tune Synchro, and then Trackmaker grabs the JJ Kewl Tune, which I don't know why. They could just grab another Kewl Tune Synchro to have more interaction on my turn, because the JJ Kewl Tune doesn't do anything here, really. But yeah, they're going to activate the JJ Kewl Tune, and I think they just realized that it doesn't do anything. And they said 2 cards. So I assume these are 2 Kewl Tune Synchros, because they went for JJ Kewl Tune. That's just my assumption here, based on the read. I know one of them is for sure Kewl Tune Synchro, and the other one is, in my opinion, probably a Kewl Tune Synchro, but could be anything else. I'm just assuming it is the most likely outcome. So, my turn starts, and I draw a Super Poly, which they didn't see because they didn't resolve Q, so that is my Joker for this game, of course. They only have one Trackmaker, which of course I can fuse the Trackmaker with my Ecclesia into a Mud Dragon, or with my Albas into a Mirror Jade, but since I know they want to play in my turn, maybe I can get a better Super Poly. Note that I don't play Theseus here. If you want to make space, for example, by cutting the Garura, you can play it there. I just feel like against Kewl Tune, if they see the Super Poly, they're going to play accordingly anyway. So you just want to do like an Albas play or something. So, dropping the Fuva and going into my main phase. I'm going to start with Ecclesia Special Summon, because once I summon, they only have one body. Once I special any normal or special anything, I lose my push that is Ecclesia. So that has to be the first one. They know I have the Albas in hand, but this can get the other Albas, of course. So they're gonna go Kewl Tune Flip, and they have the Ghost Ogre in hand, which they're gonna Synchro off or Crackle, and then the Clip and Crackle will go into my extra deck. So I don't know what the game plan here was. I think they just wanted to. This was the Clip banish, and then they look into my deck and they banish the Mirror Jade because they don't want me to fuse with their board into a Mirror Jade, and that is the game plan here. But I'm still going to use the Ecclesia, see if I can get some interactions out. Getting the Fawn of the White Dragon, and they're Veiloring this one. So I can't go to the Synchro play, which I feel like I can just go Super Poly here, drop the Meteos, we can special summon it back, and that's going to fuse the board, plus my Fallen, and this turns off the Kewl Tune Synchro. So they no longer can synchro with that. My Alba still resolves, I get my Ecclesia back, and then the Dragon that evolves the Dogma can shuffle back. But since I am turn player, I have to activate Dogma first, and then they can chain Crackle to bring it back. So they actually do have a target for the Kewl Tune Synchro. Plus, I cannot shuffle the Crackle back with my Dogma because it resolves first to summon itself back. What's neat though is they're gonna take my Baron de Fleur and my Ecclesia, and then my Dogma resolves, and I just take my Baron de Fleur and my Mirror Jade back into my extra deck. Then I'm gonna normal summon Albas, ditch the Theo, realize I don't need it, I have a Meteos Engrave, and try to do a Mirror Jade here. They can't chain Kewl Tune Synchro here, because if they Kewl Tune Synchro into something, I just fuse whatever they synchro with the Albas. Instead, they're gonna go Fawn and Virtuous to pop my Albas, and that way I can't fuse with their Crackle. So, battle phase, I'm gonna go into the Crackle just to turn off the Kewl Tune Synchro. I'm gonna attack directly with Ecclesia. Next, I'm gonna use the Meteos, shuffling back my Ecclesia, go into Elfnote Paw Pattern, because the Ecclesia doesn't do anything, really. We have the Albas in deck already. All I can do is summon Fawn the Virtuous, Fawn of the White Dragon, to get more bodies on board. That's not really necessary. So the Meteor summons the Elfnote Paw Patron. Elfnote Paw Patron increases its Elven level, and that's going to prompt the Kewl Tune Synchro, which doesn't do anything here. It just grabs them follow-up for next turn, and increase the level. And I'm actually going to synchro with the Dogma Dragon into Snake Eyes Vengeance. My idea was that the Dogma Dragon gives me Fawn the Virtuous, which I can use in the end phase to pop the JJ Kewl Tune. But I didn't plan that much ahead here, so there's another way to out this, which you'll see in a second. It's still fine to send the Dogma Dragon here. They are on low resources, so getting a Fawn the Virtuous is better. So Regina, send Lucina. And we're just going to build a board now, so we know the hand, we don't have to play around anything. Center Fortuna, get back the tuner, go into Strelitzia. And this Crystal Wing already checks their Rico. Go into Crystal Wing, go Tinia, Tinia set up the spell. Thea Realize, now here, Thea Realize, I'm making the Tinia into a light, just so that I can go Chaos Angel. Important note is that this is not a light and dark Chaos Angel, because this counts the materials in the grave, so this is a dark and water, but I still can use the Theorize to fulfill the conditions of Chaos Angel. So the Chaos Angel then banishes the JJ Kewl Tune, and here I'm going to end phase. They have a Rico in hand, which gets checked by my Crystal Wing. I have a Snake Eyes Vengeance push, I have the Regina, I have the Rhapsody of Madness. I can use the Dragon to dispose the Dogma, grabbing Fawn the Virtuous, activate it right away. I'm going to pop my Welcome Home, I don't need it anymore. And the Albion that I just sent sets me another copy of Fawn the Virtuous. So whatever they draw doesn't really matter into this board. So they go Rico, I'm going to go Crystal Wing to get rid of the effect and the body. They go Ghost Ogre, which sure, I can pop my Crystal Wing. And that is all they have. So, back to my turn. I have 6,500 on the field, so I don't have to do anything fancy. I can just go battle phase, attack, and attack for good. So that was the gameplay. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to learn more about this deck, I have a video for that for the TCG, which also has like an anti-Fuba line or just like anti-Nibiru line. You can see that all in the video. If you want to play this deck, there are some things I also considered, and those are playing Dogmatic Ecclesia the Virtuous, because if you bridge into Albas, you don't get Fawn the Virtuous, but if you go synchro with your Elfnotes into the Ecclesia, Ecclesia summons Albas, and this Albas can then summon this Ecclesia, which then grabs you the Fawn the Virtuous. So that's a way to access it. You can play that. You can play the new 3 Champions of Swords. So we don't have this in the TCG, but this is just a level 4 tuner and a non-tuner, so Meteors plus Paw Patron does that, and it adds a Spellcaster, level 4 or 8 Spellcaster whose attack equals its own def. You can do that with Meteors plus the Paw Patron, or you can do that with Albas and Ecclesia. So there's a lot of potential here. I haven't really played around with it, but it's an interesting card. Another thing you can do is Secretarian as another super poly target, but extra deck space is very tight. I don't even have space for the Theseus. And lastly, you can play what I've seen some people do, Branded and High Spirits, because all your Elf Notes are spellcasters, so High Spirits with an Elf Note can send Granguinol and add you Fallen of the White Dragon. If you want to lean more into the branded side of things, I don't really like this one, because you're giving up one of your Elf Note names, which are usually a push, and you're more like a worse version of branded now, so you might as well just play branded instead. But yeah, that's the things I wanted to talk about for changes you can make to the deck list, and that's going to be it for the video. Hope you all enjoyed it, and again, check out the videos that are linked, and I'll see you next time.